Right, welcome to our lesson today on questionnaires. They're going to ask you a question on questionnaire in your GCSE or IGCSE. They like to do this a lot. Remember, we've been talking about collecting data, and one of the tools you're going to use to collect data will be to use a questionnaire. A questionnaire is basically a handout that has got questions in there that you want the people, your sample or your population, the people you're asking the questions to answer. Okay, so questionnaires needs to be very easy to use. Then the questions need to be very simple for the people that you want them to, you want to respond. Okay, so questions need to be easy to use. For example, the questions should be clear and easy to answer accurately. It is also important to design the questions so that the answers will be easy to analyze and will give relevant and unbiased information. Okay, right. To explain all this, we're gonna use an example now. The following questions are from a questionnaire. Criticize each question. Question A says, how many hours of TV do you watch? Say, for example, you're trying to talk to the teenagers and you want to see how long they spend, how they spend their weekend. And one of the things you think is that they spend a lot of hours on TV. So you want to check this. So the first question you put there is, how many hours of TV do you watch? Now, there's a lot of things wrong with this question which you need to understand. Okay. Now, the first thing I can see is that you've been given tick boxes to tick. And I can see that if you only spend 1 hour, you're going to be stuck which box to tick. So these boxes are overlapping. These responses are overlapping because if you're doing 1 hour, you could tick that, you could do that. If you're doing 2 hours, you could tick that, tick that. Okay, so there's something wrong with this. Okay, the other one will be the last one here. Now, if somebody is doing 5 hours, like the teenagers spend a lot of time on TV, some of them spend more than 9 hours or 10 hours on the weekend. So if you spend 5 hours, you got nothing to do to take. So we can say that some responses are missing, right? So some responses are missing. Now the other thing is that this question doesn't have a lifespan. We don't know whether the question is asking you how many hours you spend per day or per week or per month. You know, so the question doesn't have a time span on there. Okay, right? So this can be corrected. So these tick boxes can be corrected. Right. The other question could be something like um, the other question says, how old are you? So that was the next question that was here. I forgot to put it properly. So the next question was, how old are you? Now, you want to know how old they are. That kind of question can be a bit sensitive. It sounds personal. So those kinds of questions, you need to avoid them. But if you're going to include them, then you could provide tick boxes, like the age groups. You can say, okay, less than 10. Then you can say 10 to 15. So then they can tick their age groups there. Okay. The other question here was, do you agree that it is important to watch the news? So do you agree that it is important to watch the news? Now, the way the question has been framed is leading, is biased, because he's saying, do you agree that it is important to watch the TV? So definitely, you are pushing the people to agree with this. The way you're framing the question, you're using the word, do you agree? So that is making them think that it is foolish not to agree. So they're just going to agree with you because they don't want to look foolish. So don't use biased questions. Don't start with do you, don't you. Anything that is leading, you don't need to include there. So in summary, quite quickly, part one, the question doesn't have, this question is not specific, it's not time specific, so it doesn't have any, it doesn't provide a specific time span, like for example, per week, per day, per month. The other thing we say is that the tick boxes overlap. So if you are doing 1 hour every week, you don't know which box to take, whether it's that or that. So those are just few things that are wrong there. And also, the boxes don't cover all possible options. So somebody's doing more than four will not know what to do. Okay, how old are you? We've said it's a sensitive question, so it would be better to have a range of options to take. The last one is that, do you agree? That is leading question, and it is bias. All right, so it encourages people to give a certain opinion because you're saying, don't you agree that it's important to read the news, right? So that is you pushing them. Okay. Now, what I want you to do really quickly right now, I'd like you to pause this video, and I would like you to analyze question one and then question two. Okay, typical questions they're going to ask you in your exam. They give you a random question, a questionnaire, and then they ask you to, just criticize it. Okay, hope you've tried that. Here are questions from Amber and Jay's questionnaires about how much sport people play. Say whose question is better and give 2 reasons why. Amber's question says, how much sport do you play? So straight away, there's something wrong there. It is not, there's no times frame here. We don't know whether he's talking about, you know, per day, per week, per month. Okay. Then another thing, you're saying how much sport do you play? Now, what do you mean? Are you saying how many times you're playing a sport, a game or what? So the question is quite vague here. The question is very vague. It doesn't have tick boxes with it. Okay. It will also be difficult to analyze the answers here because people are going to give you so many answers here. So how much sport do you play? Some are going to say 10, some are going to say 5, some are going to say many, some are going to say few. So the answers will be so many that when you sit down to analyze these answers, it's going to be difficult. Right? So there's that difficulty. Jay's question says, how many times a week do you play sport on average? I like this because it's providing time frame here because you say per week, right? How many times a week do you play sport on average, right? So it's quite good here. And then it's guiding you, says tick one box. It's telling you to tick one box. So if you're not playing, put none, once, twice, three, or it says more than three. So every single person here has got something to take. All the options have been covered here because if you're doing it 5 times, you take this. If you're not doing it at all, you take that. And there is no overlap at all in these answers. Okay. So that's how to do this. Now, question 2 says, write an improved version of each question below. How much time do you spend reading each week on average? Now, instead of saying how much time, I will say how many hours. That's the first thing because these tick boxes are in hours. So how much time do you spend reading each week on average? Okay, so 0 to 1 hour, 1 to 2 hours. Again, there's overlap here. If somebody is doing 1 hour, it doesn't know what to do there. Okay, so we need to sort that one out. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Question B, what is your favorite type of TV program? Tick one box. Comedy, soap, reality, sport. Again, there's something wrong here. Because if somebody doesn't watch any of this, if doesn't like any of this, then it's got nothing to tick. So you could put other box, another box for other. So anybody who's not watching this, then you can just tick that. Okay. Question C, which type of film do you prefer? Horror or thriller? Here again, we have horror or thriller. Right. Again, here you are limiting people so much. Some people may not be watching horror, they may not be watching thriller. So you need to have another tick box for none of this and maybe another tick box for other because there might be other films that people might be watching. Question D, do you agree that the gym should open a new tennis court rather than a new squash court? Again, you're saying, do you agree, which is biased. You are pushing people to agree with this. Okay, so you don't use the word, do you agree? Question E, how much credit card debt do you have? A very personal question, a very sensitive question. This is personal and you should be asking questions like this. Okay. If you want to ask it, you can reframe it and then you can provide maybe tick boxes with the money that you want them to take. Say, for example, less than £100, between 100 and £200, and they can take that. And you might need to use a different language rather than saying how much credit card debt do you have. Okay. Maybe you can just say how much do you owe? Or how much do you owe? Right. And then you can just provide those tick boxes. But again, those kind of questions are quite personal. You avoid them as much as possible. Right. So question 2, I would like you to look at the way that the tick boxes have been framed. So for example, here it says the first tick box is that if you're doing 1 hour less, then you tick that. You see? But here down here, if you see, they just say 0 to 1, which is fine. But then in the next box, then they're saying 1 to 2. So there's that overlap of 1 there. But here they say more than 1. So anybody who's doing 1 ticks that. Anybody who's doing more than 1 will now tick here. So there's no overlap. Okay? But here they say more than 1, but no more than 2 hours. So this is just up to 2 hours. So anything more than 2 hours is going to go here now. So here it says more than 2 hours, but no more than 3 hours. So just more than 2 hours and up to 3. So 3 is here. In the next one, more than 3 hours, but no more than 4 hours. So 4 is still here as well, but 3 is not here. In the next one, you now say 4 hours or more. Okay? Because it says more than 3 hours, but no more than 4 hours. But here it says 4 hours or more. I'm going to change this because I think they made a mistake here. Here it's just going to be more than 4 hours. This one has to be more than 4 hours because the 4 hours is already here. Because it says more than 3 hours, but no more than 4 hours, which means that 4 hours is also part of here. So in this one here, it must be more than 4 hours. It must be more than 4 hours. Okay. Right. So that's going to be that. If you just want to pause the video quickly and look at answers to question B, to part B and part C. So pause the video and try that quickly. Right. That again is the answers to part D and E. So part D and E. You could also use inequalities like they're using inequalities here. So you can use inequalities. So pause the video and just have a look at the way they're answering these questions. Okay, the last question is question 3. Pause the video quite quickly. And if you just try question A all the way to D. So pause the video and try that. Okay, well done. Hope you try that. Now I'm just going to show you very quickly the answers. So if you want to pause the video, the answers are there: A, B, C, and D. So pause the video and just compare these answers with your own answers. Okay, so thank you so much. Hope you've done well on